What's going on, guys? This video is part 2, so if you haven't seen part 1, make sure to go check that out. Enjoy the video. Next up is first appearance Superman. Now there's nothing especially crazy about how it was dropped or the type of drop. It's just the first appearance of Superman as an NFT, so I think that is enough historical significance. It speaks for itself. One of the most famous, popular superheroes of all time. And it's on Veve, so there you go. And there's really not too much to say about it. It's just, I feel like I couldn't leave this one out, you know? Next up on our list is Pride. So this one is really cool because not only is it Givenchy's first ever NFT, I believe that this was the first ever Veve NFT that the proceeds went to charity for. So I like the first Givenchy NFT aspect of it for an investment standpoint, but I also like investing in it for the fact that it went to a good cause and went to charity. It makes me feel better spending my money on some NFTs that way. Next up, we have the Cthulhu Idols. So what's cool about these is that they were the first ever con exclusive drops to ever come out on Veve. So Veve has been a part of 2 Comic Cons now, and this was the first one, and this was the first drop of the whole con exclusive that they released. But not only that, the company that distributes these Cthulhu Idols, Chaosium, they actually pulled their license from Veve because of pushback from their community, because they were getting pressure saying that NFTs are bad for the environment and are just bad overall. And their community, who are physical board game fans, they weren't on board with the whole NFT deal. In my opinion, they're a bit misinformed, but regardless, they didn't want to make their main consumers upset, so they pulled the Veve license. So we likely won't see any more Chaosium on Veve. So these could be pretty rare. Next is a huge one, and this is one that doesn't only fit into being historical on Veve, it fits into being historical as an NFT on the blockchain just in general. And this is the first appearance of Spider-Man. And not only is it the first appearance of Spider-Man, it is also the first ever Marvel NFT of all time. And the secret rare version of this collectible is extremely, extremely rare with only 1,000 editions. Especially for a character like Spider-Man, we don't see something that popular run that low of an edition size very often. So this one has just about everything going for it. This will be, in my opinion, one of the most ironclad, safest blue chip collectibles that we will ever see. Next up is more Marvel, and this is the first set of the Marvel mighties, specifically Steve Rogers. And so don't let the little mighty form fool you. These are still the first appearances of these characters on the blockchain, and I think there's a lot more on the horizon for these Marvel mighties. I don't have concrete evidence to prove that, but there have been a few clues that might suggest that these might get turned into a game in the future or some kind of show, or they might have some kind of utility. So if that is the case, having the first set of the Marvel mighties, because we've seen they continue to drop more and more versions of these, holding the first one could be historically significant. Next up, we have one of the biggest landmarks in all of Veve, and that is the 007 James Bond movie tickets. Now, the reason that this is extremely historically significant is for 2 reasons. First of all, only 7 of them dropped total, so it was the lowest edition size on Veve for a while until the Aston Martin came around with only 3 of them. But still, it's the second most scarce collectible on all of Veve, and it is the first time that any Veve collectible has had utility. So again, I mentioned it was a movie ticket. This got you, along with I want to say 7 other people, or 7 including you, doesn't matter, got you into see the new James Bond movie that came out at the time that this dropped. So I think that this collectible is extremely, extremely exciting because it marks utility for Veve collectibles, which I personally have been looking forward to a lot, and I think that will be a major, major catalyst for so many of these NFTs. And just thinking about what could be added on to these as far as utility goes is so exciting, and I really cannot wait to see what future brands and companies and just Veve does with these collectibles. Next up on the list is yet another landmark collectible to drop on Veve, and that is the USPS Day of the Dead stamps. Now, the reason that this is huge is because this was the first ever time that a government agency, or as far as I know, the US government, dropped an NFT, and it was on the Veve platform. So I love this for so many reasons. I think it's cool seeing a government agency get into NFTs. I think it really helps the credibility of them, and it makes me more confident of NFTs going forward, that the government is using it, and they obviously gave the green light to go ahead and put these out, because I know there's some kind of regulatory issues that sometimes go on with crypto or NFTs. So for me, that really is exciting for the future of Veve, and for me, it just gives me peace of mind knowing that we likely won't see any kind of regulatory government crackdowns on our Veve NFTs, that might wipe out our investments or anything like that. Next is one of the biggest drops that we'll probably ever see on Veve, and that is the first ever Disney drop, the first set of golden moments. So I really don't think that it gets any bigger than Disney, and let alone the first ever Disney drop. Along with that, every single thing that drops is the first appearance of all these Disney characters on the blockchain. So similar to the first ever Marvel NFT with Spider-Man, you really cannot get too much better than this whole set. Any of the first few golden moments, you really can't go wrong with. In my opinion, any of the golden moments, period, you can't go wrong with so far. But these especially. It marked the first ever Disney collection, like I said. We saw the first ever double first appearances. So it started off first with Homer and Bart, and then later on we got Walt and Mickey. Those two were the first ever times that two first appearance characters were in the same collectible. And this set really just speaks for itself because, again, as I mentioned, some of the most iconic characters of all time in their first appearance. And in my opinion, the release of Disney NFTs really sent Veve into that next level. And I know that when Disney came out, we got a ginormous influx of new users. So this really put Veve on the map. Next up, we're sticking with Disney, and we're also sticking with Mickey Mouse, but just not the first appearance. But regardless, tag or no tag, Steamboat Willie is one of the most historically significant drops to ever come to Veve, and I'll tell you why. So Steamboat Willie on its own is already huge because it marks the birth of Disney, essentially, the birth of Mickey Mouse, and catapulted Disney into where it is today. I just wanted to Google it just to see if I missed anything, and I think this sums it up perfectly in case you didn't already know. So Disney's Steamboat Willie is a landmark in the history of animation. So not just Disney, of animation. It's the first film starring Mickey Mouse to be released with synchronized sound. It threw silent animation into obsolescence and launched an empire. Previously, there had been little to distinguish Disney's cartoons from those of his competitors. And along with that, Steamboat Willie used to play before every single Disney movie, and it is just a staple in the history of Disney. So the fact that we have it on Veve, I think it is really overlooked and really undervalued personally. And lastly, we have the Disney lenticular cards. So for whatever reason, maybe it's because they're 2D, maybe it's because they're first edition, not first appearance. I really don't know why, but for whatever reason, at the time of recording, these are taking a beating in the market. And actually, Secret Rare Goofy is one of my biggest losses on investment, one of my biggest drop-offs, because I bought it at the peak and it's down very, very, very significantly at the moment. But honestly, I'm not worried. I still feel extremely grateful to be owning the entire set of this, because not only is it first edition of these characters like it shows in the Veve app, it is also the first appearance of them on the blockchain as a whole. So this entire set will forever and always be the first appearance on the blockchain of all these characters except for Mickey Mouse, forever cemented on the blockchain on the Veve platform. So I think that is huge. I really cannot express how much I think these are undervalued and how iconic these are. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did in fact enjoy it, I'd really appreciate a like, comment, subscription, anything helps. Let me know what you think I missed. I'm sure I missed at least one thing. And with that out of the way, with that being said, my name is NFT Flenny, and I'll catch you guys next time.